Hey, Gary.
Oh, sounds like you had some company in the church this morning.
Yes, yes. The Thursday ladies were there.
Ah, yes.
Yep, that's good. So it was a little chilly in the foyer for them. That's why I'm hanging out in the choir room, because the foyer and my office are on the same system and the heat's not working. So
Oh, it's not working.
yeah,
Uh-oh.
they're out working on it right now. So
Who do we use for AC and heat?
we use DMG. It's Dallas Mechanical Group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was curious, because when the Montgomerys joined our class, we found out that Steve runs a heating and air.
Right. Yeah. We've been with DMG. They come out quarterly to do all the filters and preventative maintenance and all that kind of stuff. And then if there's something that goes wrong, then we only have to pay for parts. So
Oh,
pretty
that's
good
good.
deal.
So they're on a retainer.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's like we called them, like it wasn't working Monday, and they came out. Well, let's see. No, it was working Monday, then it wasn't working Tuesday. So we called them Tuesday morning. They came out yesterday, and they were here half a day, and then they're here again. They've been here all morning, so doing all that work. So.
You gonna say something?
Dean, we mentioned a couple of prayer requests this morning when you were there.
Yes,
A couple others that I don't know if you know about or not. Dot Parkos was having, do you know about her?
Mhm.
Like she's been having headaches and pain in her neck and stuff, and she had a bunch of tests done, and she was worried that she either had a tumor or a aneurysm or something, because a couple of people, I guess, in her family have aneurysms.
Mm.
She got her test back, and she does not have anything like that.
Okay.
They think she thinks it might possibly be from a fall downstairs that she had years ago,
Oh, okay.
causing the pain.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, she doesn't have a tumor and doesn't have an aneurysm.
Very good.
And the other thing was, and she talked about these last Sunday in Sunday school, was her grandson that's 12 years old and has severe mental issues, has tried to commit suicide several times, and they just have to watch him all the time. He's not only dangerous to himself, though, he's also dangerous to other people.
Hmm.
So I guess they're having lots of problems, and need lots of prayers for him and the family.
Okay. Thank you for sharing those. Very good.
And that's actually, I think, the first time she's ever brought up any joy concern type stuff in the year or so that they've been with us. So
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things we want to pay attention to
Right.
because of that. She finally felt comfortable enough or worried enough, whichever it is, to share.
Very good.
I guess he's even been in a facility before. What am I trying to say? What do you call it? A mental
A
hospital.
mental hospital type thing, yeah.
Okay.
Really sad sounding.
Well, where is everybody?
I don't know. Sandy said she was going to be here. So I turned off the waiting room. So
I'm looking in this book trying to find that comment that he made about as he looked out his window and the view he had. Oh, what was far off and what was close. And what was far off sounded like he has a really beautiful view out of his window. I think it's the Atlantic Ocean, but
Probably.
I can't find it now.
Oh, there it is. 152.
I hadn't gone that far. I'll be darned. Yes. Oh, a ruined castle. That's
Mm-hmm.
looking out to the sea. Sounds like a nice place.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to remember if he's. Yeah, he's at the University of St. Andrews right now. So
Is that the same St. Andrews as the golf course?
I believe so. And they're both in Scotland, as far as I know.
Ah,
Yep. Very good. So let's see.
I don't know if have you seen an email from me in the last 15 minutes?
The last 15 minutes. Oh,
I'll just,
yes, I see it.
okay, well, I was just going to tell you, we don't know what we're going to do as a class yet. We were
Right.
waiting to find out, and Debbie was nice enough to send the photo of the room and
Right.
what the estimated number is going to be. So we'll discuss it on Sunday, but I'm not anticipating anyone being in class on Sunday.
Okay. And that's understandable. Yeah. Yeah, that we just got that information yesterday, so
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it says 18, and that's probably that's like singly, probably sitting singly with couples and things like that. It may be a bit more than that. Just depends on how y'all want to space out. So.
Well, and in the past, when we've had too many to be able to sit around the table, people would sit in the corners or back against the wall, which could possibly offer a little bit more room. But
right.
we'll kind of check it out. There are 5 people that I can think of right offhand that do not participate in the Zoom because they don't like Zoom.
Okay.
Those 5 people probably would want to come to the class.
Did they come to in-person worship?
They yes, Peterson's, for example, Ed and Marble. They don't like Zoom. They started it for about a month and a half and then they dropped off.
Okay.
But and George has been on it maybe 3 times. The Colemans have never done it.
Okay.
So we might, if we continue to have like 15 people at church, and then add the 5 that haven't been coming to Zoom, we might have it right at 20.
Right. All right. All right. Okay. Because have the Colemans come in person?
No, now they may be coming this Sunday.
Okay.
They've been talking about coming,
Okay.
especially based upon the fact that so many of us have been there. Oh, they told Jane Halsey yesterday that they were going to be coming.
Okay. All right. May have to go look and see what if they've made a reservation. Excuse me.
Are we on the recorder now?
Yeah, we're recording.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to. I don't see him. Oh wait, hold on. What day am I on? Oh. They haven't registered yet, but that's okay.
We
All
got
right.
slots.
Yeah, we've got enough. Let's see.
Okay, we might
Yeah.
give them a call after a while.
Yeah, we've got
Check
less
with
than
them.
50 people total registered, so yeah, we're good.
Okay. How's the second service doing?
It's okay. I mean, we had 5 that weren't actively participating in worship, either as a band member or running some kind of media on Sunday. So it's kind of a bit of a struggle.
Yeah.
So we're working on it. All right. Well, let me let's see. Let me text everybody real quick. All right. See if Sandy will jump on. All right. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and you can get started with whatever questions you might have. This coming Sunday, I'm going to preach the first 19 verses of chapter 9, which is basically all of the first part of Paul's or Saul's conversion story. It's Saturday the 24th and Monday the 26th readings. So we talked a little bit about that last week, but so do you have any questions in particular?
No, we as a class have already covered the first 9 verses.
Okay.
And talking about and doing the questions there.
Sure. Yeah, that was last week's reading, or part of last week's reading.
And then as far as Monday goes, let's see here. I love this whole story.
Me too.
This whole week. It makes you smile in certain places. You know, it is trying to imagine. Let's see, how would you trying to imagine somebody that was so far one direction, and then all of a sudden they're coming in and trying to tell you how good things are the other direction. You've got to really wonder about
right.
What in the world happened.
Right.
So yeah, it's fun.
Well, it certainly makes the apostles' response to Paul showing up in Jerusalem understandable. It's like, he's gone from one extreme to the other, and they didn't get, the inside track until Barnabas shows up and goes, "Hey, here's what really happened." So,
how do you? Let's see. It mentions that he received the revelation of Jesus Christ. Do you suppose, because he is an apostle, that means he learned from Jesus, almost in person or
Right.
person
Yeah.
to
He
person.
had an encounter with the resurrected Christ there on the road. Yeah.
He did have an encounter, and so he uh, is that revelation, is that time period on the road, is that where he learned everything that he needed to learn in order to become the apostle that he became? If that makes any sense.
Right. No, I see what you're asking. Hey, Sandy.
Hello. Oh, she's out and about.
Yeah, she's in the car. Oh,
Can't hear you.
I can't hear you. You're not muted, but I can't hear you.
Can you hear us?
Mhm. No, still can't hear you. Sorry, in car. Okay. That's fine. All right. We forgive you. It's all right. Um, very good. So to answer your question, Gary, I don't know if he got everything that he needed in that one particular moment. Obviously, he knew enough to almost immediately turn around and start proclaiming the gospel in Damascus, and even then, you know, let's see, he proclaiming that he is the Son of God. I mean, it was enough of a revelation and profound enough of a revelation that he understood and connected the dots from all of his upbringing to go, I was wrong about this, and this is actually who the fulfillment of all of the prophets would be. I think N.T. Wright does a good job of explaining that. Let's see, like on page 140, 141, he's talks about how his world is turned upside down and inside out. He sees, and I don't know about the whole Ezekiel prayer and meditation thing. I hadn't heard that angle before. That that Saul was praying to try to receive that that vision of Ezekiel from Ezekiel chapter 1, while he's on this journey to Damascus. But it says, at the end of the first paragraph, imagine his excitement as in the depth of devout meditation, he saw with the eyes of his heart, so real that it seemed as though he was seeing it with his ordinary physical eyes. And then so real that he realized he was seeing it with his physical eyes, the form, the fire, the blazing light, and the face. And the face was the face of Jesus of Nazareth, which, totally flips his world. But it's that revelation that that shifts everything for him, so that he then understands that Jesus is the Messiah, is the one who everything has been leading up to, so that he's then able to go to the people in Damascus and proclaim that Jesus is the Son of God. And then there's the the whole, let's see. So you had asked last week about the whole, his sort of being away, and you found the mention in Galatians about being in Arabia. So it's so at the end of verse 30, that he gets sent off to Tarsus, and I think that's when let's see. I think that's when N.T. Wright places Paul going and having that particular moment. Hold on. Trying to remember where I read that, or if that was that may have been a little bit later. Hold on. No, maybe it was in 10. Anyway, I think it may have been in the course, the N.T. Wright course that I was doing, that he was talking about Peter being gone in Arabia, and that being the quiet period, like we don't hear anything from him for 3 years,
Right.
and then he comes back onto the scene.
He was meditating or thinking about how he was going to do all of that he needed to get done. Yeah.
Right. So that sort of sets him up for the ministry that then happens, his missionary journeys that begin immediately following that. So, yeah.
I also enjoyed that the first paragraph on page 145. The time has come for the message about the one true God, the Jewish good news of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to be told to the wider world, the world of pagans.
Mm-hmm.
This that last sentence, and then they say that God doesn't have a sense of humor.
I know.
So, yeah.
Right, because well, as we know, Paul becomes the primary apostle to the Gentiles. Obviously, it gets codified in Acts 15 at the Jerusalem Council, but even in this moment, I mean, yeah, we see Peter going to Cornelius here in the next chapter, or the rest of this chapter, and so there's that. We see Peter having some Gentile interaction, but then by the time chapter 15 rolls around, they're like, okay, Peter's going to take care of Jerusalem and Judea, and then Paul's going to go to the farther reaches. And I think it's interesting that that there's the understanding that someone who has come, like, we talked about, diametrically, he was all the way over here in his devoutness for Judaism and his, Pharisaic tradition. And then he has this entire flip, and now he's completely devoted to sharing the message of Jesus. And how, I can't remember if it was him, if it was N.T. Wright, or if it was one of the other commentaries that I've read, but it was like, that was the perfect candidate to proclaim the message to people who are far from God, because, for somebody to do that 180, it had to be, that's going to be your most likely candidate to be able to speak from a point of view of actually having been transformed. So, if he'd only come 10 degrees or something like that, it wouldn't have been as convincing, but it's like a whole, wow, all that huge shift. So,
Yep.
Anyway, yeah. So let's see. Very good. So Peter or Paul, I'm gonna mess this up on Sunday, I'm sure. I'm gonna say Paul, but anyway, I'm gonna try really hard not to say Paul. I know. Yeah. All Saul until 13. Anyway, so Saul is, he begins his ministry in Damascus, and they get mad at him, and so then he goes, they send him out the window or out the opening in the wall. And he goes to Jerusalem, and Barnabas vouches for him. And then they're like, oh boy, he's he's stirring up trouble again. So they send him to Tarsus. And there's peace. And then Peter comes back onto the scene. And so Peter goes to, let's see, he goes to Aeneas and heals him. And let's see, and then he goes to Joppa, and there's Tabitha, and he raises her from the dead. And then Cornelius comes onto the scene with the readings for the first part of November. Cornelius is obviously a Gentile. He's a centurion, member of the Italian cohort. He's a devout man who feared God. So he's not Jewish. He's a God-fearer. He's somebody outside the Jewish tradition, but respects the Jewish God and the Jewish faith in the same way that the Ethiopian eunuch did from chapter 8.
Right. Okay.
He has this vision. And so he sends for Simon Peter, who's lodging with Simon the tanner. So you got to kind of make sure you talk about which Simon you're talking about. And if you noticed, verse 7 of chapter 10, it says, when the angel who spoke to him had left, Cornelius calls 2 of his slaves and a devout soldier. So there's another God-fearer that he's already in relationship with. So Cornelius and this one of his soldiers is also a God-fearer. And that's the guy he tasks with going to get Peter. He sends him to Joppa. And then Peter has this vision of this giant sheet coming out of heaven. All the animals, all the 4-footed, cloven hoof, not cloven hoof, chewing the cud, not chewing the cud, birds and everything on there, lizards and snakes and whatever, reptiles and everything. And Peter has this vision of, and here's the voice say, get up, Peter, and eat. And he's like, no, I'll never eat anything that's profane or unclean. And he says, what God has made clean, you must not call profane. And it happens 3 times. It's the second time something like this has happened 3 times.
Yeah.
The whole scene at the end of John, where it's like, do you love me? Feed my lambs thing. So then up it goes. And again, in Judaism, clean and unclean is a huge deal. Read the book of Leviticus. It's a huge deal.
Yes, it is.
And there's some food safety things that are going on, but there's also this holiness thing that's going on with the clean and the unclean. Sometimes you read and you're like, okay, you can eat an animal that has 4 feet, but it's got to have a cloven hoof, it's got to chew the cud, or because if it has a cloven hoof but it doesn't chew the cud, then you can't eat it. And it's like, oh my goodness. Anyway, but it's a huge deal in Judaism. And so it's understandable that Peter would go, hey, I've never eaten anything that's unclean, because that's what you said I'm supposed to do. And so again, this is Peter's sort of upending moment where God says, don't call anything profane that I have made clean. So, and so this connects to the fact that Cornelius is sending people to come to him, to get him to come back to his house. And then, so then they get there. So let's see. So then they vouch for Cornelius. The next day they get up and they go back, and Cornelius tells him about his vision. And then he asks, why have you sent for me? So then Cornelius comes back and says, I sent for you immediately, and now you're here. And he says, so now all of us are here in the presence of God to listen to all that the Lord has commanded you to say. And then Friday's reading, the 6th, talks about it's, he finally understands his vision. He finally understands about the whole sheet coming out of heaven with all the animals. God has shown no partiality. Every nation, anywhere, anyone who fears him and does what is right is acceptable to him. So this is where Peter begins to understand that the gospel message is for not just Jews, but for Gentiles as well. And we see this in tandem with what Saul is doing to proclaim to Damascus, and then what's going to happen as he's as Saul continues his journeys into Gentile nations. Although it's getting ahead of us, I do think it's interesting that the dividing line of Jewish and Gentile still comes up in these few chapters leading up to Acts 15. The whole, do they have to become a Jew first before they can become a Christian? People outside the, Gentiles, do they have to become a Jew first, which means circumcision for males, and follow all the food laws and the purity laws and all that kind of stuff, and then they can become a Christian? Or is it just becoming a Christian? This is a huge deal, and it re-highlights the whole issue that we had in chapter 6 about the Hebraic widows and the Hellenist widows, and how they were getting unfairly treated in the food line. So we saw sort of a glimpse of the differences between the Jews and the Gentiles there, and then it comes back here leading up to Acts 15, that the early church is still working that out. They're trying to figure out how to do this, because this is, again, it's something brand new that's happening. For centuries, the Jewish people have been the Jewish people, and they've followed the, as best they can, the Torah, worshipped in the temple, all that kind of stuff, followed the purity laws, and if you wanted to become a Jew, you were a Jew, and you had to, go through the process. And if you were a Gentile, then you could, you either you worship no God, or you worship many gods, or whatever. You had all the Greek gods or all the Roman gods, whatever, and or Babylonian god, it's all sorts of things. And if you wanted to become a Jew, then there was that process to go through. But if you remember the way that the temple is laid out, there's the court of the Gentiles, which is where the God-fearers, who would be like Cornelius, the Ethiopian eunuch, that would be as far as they could go. The other people that could only go there so far was the guy we met in chapter 3, the lame man. Because of his lameness, he couldn't go any farther than the court of the Gentiles, because he was somehow not fully whole. He wasn't all the way whole. And then, so there was the court of the Gentiles, and then just beyond that was the women. Women could go one step further, but then the men could go one step further than that. So it was this whole progression of things, and you had to meet certain requirements to go farther. So then when Jesus comes and the gospel begins to spread to in Judaism circles, and then also to Gentile circles, then this comes to a head about who's got priority in all of this. Do you have to become a Jew first before you can become a Christian, or do you just skip over the Judaism part? And that's what a lot of those followers of Christ who were based in Jerusalem and in Judea and were Jews already, that's where their struggle was. Because it's sort of like, I don't know if you've ever taken your grandkids to like Six Flags or whatever. Six Flags has this deal called the Fast Pass. And if you pay like $40 or whatever, you get this little watch, and you can go and you can cut the line, and it's like beep and shoo, and you cut in front of all the other people who have to wait in line. That's a bad metaphor, but it sort of gets the point that, you know, the Gentiles sort of cut the line, and they can, you know, they don't have to go through all the queue. They can go straight up to the top and jump on the ride.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that.
Well, it helps my head. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what's happening. It's like, you know. Anyway. So let's see. Yeah. So again, this whole Jews and Gentiles deal is going to come to the forefront. And in the rest of the New Testament, you'll see Paul dealing with those divisions in the early church. I mean, he writes about it in Romans, he writes about it in the Corinthian letters, he writes about it in Galatians, Ephesians. So it's an ongoing problem that, you know, that's unfortunately doesn't go away quickly, even after Acts 15.
Yeah. Okay.
Very good. All right. What else? What other questions?
I think you covered the couple that I wanted to touch on.
Okay. So just as a heads up, I'm currently working on volume 2, and we hope to have the book put together and in your hands a week or 2 before Christmas, so that you can get them, so that we can have them out so people can pick them up. And then we'll kick off the second half, the second week of January. So January 10th is the second Sunday. So we'll do some stuff for Advent, and I'm gonna take a couple of weeks off because I haven't been out of the pulpit since May.
Yeah.
So.
I know the feeling. I haven't been out of the leadership since then either.
Right. So anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna take a couple of weeks off after Christmas.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. We're not gonna be doing any Acts related stuff the 2 weeks you're off?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I've got 2 guests lined up to preach for me those 2 weeks. The 27th and then the 27th of December and then 3rd of January. And then, so they'll do their own thing. And
okay.
We'll be back to jump in on the 10th. So.
When are we going to find out about the Advent material?
So I'm working on it now. I'm working on that as well too. So the Advent series will be similar to what we did last year. It'll be a single sheet for each week with some discussion questions. And this year they'll have it'll be a daily reading plan, just not quite as much as this would be, but it'll be a single sheet, probably be double-sided with the readings for the days, questions for reflection, so that you can have all of that, and then you can use that to lead your conversation in your group.
Okay.
So, you should have that in your hand. Let's see. First Sunday of Advent's the 29th, so hopefully by the 15th I'll have that emailed to you.
Okay.
That's my goal, to get it to you a couple weeks ahead of time so you can be ready to go. So.
Very good.
Yep. So, all right. Well, again, I appreciate you, and yeah, let me know if your class decides, you know, some of you want to be in person and some of you want to be on Zoom, and figure that out. I know Sandy's going to stay on Zoom for a while. I think Ted is as well. And then James's class is sort of the wild card. I'm not quite sure what they're going to do. I know they've been doing Google Meets. So, and some of them have come back, like James has been back and my family's been back, but, and then the Ramirez's. So I don't know if any others in their class have been back in person. So there may be a split kind of deal as well. So
Okay.
we will get it worked out.
Yes, we will.
Very good. All righty. Well, I appreciate you and thank you for what you do. And if you have any questions or if you have anything you need from me, just give me a holler.
Will do. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Gary.
See you
Take care.
Sunday.
All right.
Bye for now.
All right.
I don't know about Sandy.
Yeah, she
She
froze a
kinda
long time
frozen
ago.
it.
Yeah, she got frozen. All right.
All righty. Bye-bye.